Welcome back to the Snod Pod with your mortgage resource, John Snodgrass, where we're talking real estate, mortgages, home inspections, and beyond. I've got Spencer Paul from Wisconsin Property Inspections back for another episode. Thanks again for sticking around.
Thanks, John.
Let's
do it again.
Yeah, let's finish up it's kind of single-family homes, and then maybe we'll get into condos and investment properties. But one question I didn't ask on the last episode was, what are you not inspecting? Or is there anything that you're not inspecting?
So basically, like we touched on the standards, the state standards for Wisconsin. And what we don't inspect would be things that, a home inspection is non-invasive. So we're not going to inspect behind the walls or anything that's covered by carpet, or, if it's a finished basement, we're not going to be able to see the foundation walls. So, because it's non-invasive. And then the other thing that we don't really do is, as far as lead and asbestos, we don't do any testing. We will still look for visual signs and note on those signs, but then we would just recommend you follow up with a specialist in that field.
Okay.
But other than that, everything else is pretty fair game. As long as it's exposed, as long as it's not hidden, and it's not hazardous to anyone looking at it. So that's it.
Okay. I guess one last one is any transaction or home inspections where you've been involved in where maybe the deal did not go through because of the home inspection, or are you even notified about that? Or
no, we typically don't know.
Okay.
Once we send out a report, that's kind of it for us. Our little cog in the wheel is done.
Got it.
I do know sometimes things just buyers and sellers can't meet in the middle on certain issues, and then
Got it.
Everyone tries to just go back to the drawing board, I guess. But yeah, typically we don't find out, even if the deal goes all the way through.
Yeah, there's only been a handful. So I've been doing this, loan officer 20 years, a handful of deals. And usually it's, hey, there's a foundation issue.
Sure.
And,
it's always the big things.
Yeah, it's something like that.
The big ticket items, I guess you call them.
And to me, like a smart seller, just takes care of it.
Yeah.
It's like, why even go back on the market?
Once it's in our report, right, that's a known defect.
Yep.
It's out there. It's, public knowledge at that point. So it'd be immoral, I guess, if a seller tried to resell their house without either fixing it or at least just saying, hey, we have a bad foundation. Here it is.
Yeah, they should have
disclosed
it out there up front. Okay. Well, let's transition into condos and maybe some, multifamilies. So is there anything really, I used to own a condo.
Yeah.
Anything different that you're doing on condos?
The main thing is with most condos, the association is going to take care of those exterior items. So the roof, the siding, even sometimes as much as like the balconies and the decks, depending on the type of condo.
Yeah.
I just did one. Are you familiar with the Cloisters? It's in Milwaukee, like where Milwaukee and Tosa kind of meet on the northwest side.
Okay, I'm not.
It's basically like a resort style hotel.
Okay.
In there. So obviously you're only inspecting what's inside the four walls.
That's it.
That's it. Now sometimes out in Brookfield you've got more the townhouse looking style condos.
Yep.
And we'll still do the courtesy of going around the outside just looking for anything.
Okay.
Siding missing, or maybe the roof does look old, and we'll still note it in the report, even if that way they can just bring it up to the association, bring it up to management.
Okay.
But typically with condos, it's just what's inside the four walls.
That's it.
So
I used to have a place at the Edgewater Terrace on like Prospect and Brady.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 16 floors, and there's like a solarium.
Yeah, I've done a few in there.
Yeah, I used to call it the Snod area. We have like a chiller because there was, I think, 75 units. Chiller and a big heater, so you are not going in that room to look at that to see.
No, we'll turn on the thermostat, and we have thermal cameras and everything, so we can see that everything's working.
Okay.
But no, especially if it's like locked up, maintenance only in there, or no roof access, then we're not going to be able to see those rooftop.
So you're
units.
not even.
No, and basically, if the buyer's not responsible for it, well, then we don't need to inspect it. But we like to let them know, like, hey, your heat's working. Or
so you're still doing the same kind of
do
things,
as much as we can.
Plumbing. Got it.
Absolutely.
And then anything different on so I'm financing anywhere up to 4 units.
Sure.
Anything different?
Just more to inspect.
Just because there's 4 units, so you're checking
4 furnaces,
plumbing.
4 electrical panels. It's just more territory to cover.
Okay.
But the process is still the same. We still do the same process. We just multiply it by 4.
What about commercial? Are you doing any commercial inspections?
Oh, we do tons of commercial. Everything from more than 4 family units. We just recently did a 20-unit apartment building.
Okay.
And we've done everything from gas stations to Piggly Wigglies. I just did a bar downtown Milwaukee here on Brady Street. So that was, had the commercial aspect with the restaurant, and then we had 9 units, residential units above it. So that was a mixed use building. So a little bit of everything there.
Okay. And so, I mean, I imagine that something like that, you're there most of the day.
You're there most of the day, and you're writing the report most of the night.
Okay.
You're talking 10,000 square feet or more. So, but still get it to the client the same day.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. I guess maybe to start wrapping up, like, I guess, top ways that you're helping the buyers, with the home inspection. I know you've probably touched on some of it, but maybe just to summarize. And
I mean, I think at the root of it all, we're there for education.
I love that. Yeah.
And information. I know home inspection is a technical thing, but it's also very customer service based. Right? You have let's just say millennial or Gen Z really might not be handy or know anything, and that's. How much is that average house now? $300,000, something like that. Yeah. And they're sinking that money in, and they're starting their life with their family. And it's really, we've got a 3 to 4 hour shot to teach them as much about that house as possible, right? So to me, I think that's the root of what we do.
Well, and that makes me think back to my home inspection where I kind of showed up halfway through. And I wish I would have been there the whole time taking notes. I mean, are you encouraging?
Yeah, it's, I think Wisconsin's unique in that aspect where most of my clients are there. I always encourage it, always tell people, and if they can't make it, obviously we have out-of-state buyers. We always do the virtual walkthrough. We'll call or Zoom or whatever to read through the report, but it's always beneficial. Yeah. Just get your eyes on it. And I think it's better coming from me or the inspector than from the report, right? The report's going to be more technical. Totally. It's going to be drier, maybe more alarming, just seeing it in black and white. Then when you can talk to us and we can walk through those issues and say, hey, yes, it is a leak in gas and it's a gas leak, but it's not. We see it every day and it's an easy repair. Yeah. And I think that's just more comforting to people when they see it than just gas leak right there in the report.
Well, I would even encourage. I know you're putting together the report, but from my experience, bring a notebook with you and take some notes because I've shared on a past podcast. I didn't know where my water shutoff was. And my water heater was kind of in a weird spot, and water heater broke 2 weeks after finished a renovation in the basement. Yeah, and I couldn't find it, and it was just like, man, if I would have been at my home inspection and taken some notes, not to mention just helping, little things, filter and stuff.
You get the report with photos, and we always try to include little things like that. And take notes, and we try to walk. If you're there, we walk you around. Where are your hose bib shut off so you can winterize them, things like that.
Yeah. That's another one.
The breakers. Where are your breakers? So if you have an emergency there, you can run down and shut that off. So it's just all part of just learning about your house. Yeah. Some people don't even know. I just did a house yesterday, and we could not find a reset for some of the outlets, and we called the seller, and they didn't even know. Yeah. So
oh my God,
we found them, but it's just learn about the house. That's what we're there for.
Oh, and maybe last thing before we close, radon. I know that came up at my house. I mean, I guess I don't know if you can just touch upon it. I mean, do you see it?
Yeah, Wisconsin is big with radon, and not to get too technical, but basically the EPA says 4.0 picocuries per liter is and above is the unsafe threshold. So anything under that, you're fine. But it's more and more finished basements, more and more basement bedrooms. Long-term exposure can cause lung cancer. So getting it tested is crucial. And then once you know what level you're at, getting it mitigated is important. And kind of the dense part of Milwaukee is usually not too high, but you start getting into those suburbs, Washington County, down in Racine, it definitely increases. I've seen levels as high as up in the 40s. Okay. So 10.
Why? I guess what is radon and why?
So radon is it comes from basically uranium. Okay. Right. So uranium's a big unstable molecule, and as that breaks apart, radon is one of those components. Okay. So it is radioactive, and that's where the cancer comes from. Okay. And then as radon will start to dissipate, and it comes up just basically up from the earth. Okay. Comes from the soil, the granite. That's in there. So as the glaciers kind of came through, they deposited a lot of that in this area, the
So is it like
upper
the whole
Midwest.
state?
Pretty much.
Pretty much the whole
Yeah,
state.
the Kettle, even in the Kettle Moraine area.
Okay.
Where was I? Dousman had a 45,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's very high.
That's high.
So, but once you get it mitigated, it'll bring it down to like 0.2.
Okay, yeah, I've got one in mine. Part of my home inspection 6.5 years ago, we got it in there, so they did it. They didn't do the chimney, but they did the radon.
And as long as that motor is running in your mitigation system, you're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they make an alarm if it's too hot?
There's a little meter
Okay.
in there that lets you know if your motor is operational or not, but you won't know your radon levels in your house unless you test for it. The mitigation systems don't give you a reading.
Got it.
Or not yet. Maybe someone will.
But what if it breaks down? Is there something?
There's a manometer that will let you know if you're because it's a long-term exposure. So if it breaks down, you can replace it in a week. You don't have. It's not something you got to do right away.
Right.
Not like a sump pump. If that fails, you get an alarm for that. Or septic system, you get an alarm for those. But
I hear mine working.
Yeah, and it helps dry out your basement. Believe it or not, sucks all that air from underneath your house. So it does help that a little bit too.
Okay. Well, great.
Side benefit.
Well, Spencer, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me
again. This has been awesome and informative. Why don't you, if you want to give your number and website again?
Sure. Yeah. Once again, it's Wisconsin Property Inspections. Basically, inspectwi.com. And phone number is 262-818-1410. And our team will take care of you. Get you booked.
All right. Spencer Paul, thanks for coming on. Wisconsin
thanks, John.
Property Inspections. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
I'm sure I might have to have you back again if I've got some more questions. So.
Cool. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, this has been the Snod Pod with John Snodgrass, your mortgage resource, where we're talking home inspections, mortgages, radon, real estate, and beyond. Thanks for watching.